Hi, Candiace.
Hello, Andy.
Question.
Answer.
Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
Well, you would maybe have to ask Ashley, as she has the keys.
Oh, no.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 7, Reunion Part 1. And first things first, I want to give the biggest dummy award to Ashley Darby. Because baby, the way you have wreaked havoc for 7 seasons, and meanwhile back at the ranch, your affairs aren't in order and you signed a bum prenup, which leaves you with nothing. The jokes truly write themselves, and the way I'm about to read you down from beginning to end. So please get ready, get a snack, get some wine, get some champagne, get some tequila, because it's going to be a very lit review. As you guys can see, I'm already on one. Now, I do want to say something else. Y'all know me. You guys know that I have to give you guys my true opinion. I cannot lie to appease you all. And I know that a few of you guys on Twitter were upset with what Candiace said at the end, and we're going to talk about that. But you guys know how I feel, where there is a double standard, where certain people can take things to hell, but the minute Candiace says one thing, everybody's on her. And I don't agree with that. But without further ado, let's just jump right on into this recap, because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we start off this first part with the audio from Giselle and Robin's podcast, where they're discussing Juan's affair. Then we cut to a clip with Robin and Andy when they were having their sit-down talk on Watch What Happens Live. Now, in my opinion, all of this just felt like it's too little too late. I have been saying for the longest time that Bravo needs to stop filming these reunions so far in advance. They need to film the reunion maybe a week or two before the finale airs. At the very least, once this news broke about Juan and this other woman, I think that Bravo should have called all these ladies back to New York and had another sit-down taping of all of them discussing Robin hiding this whole storyline. But of course, we see all the women getting ready. They're in their dressing rooms. Andy pops into Karen's dressing room. He's like, how are you feeling about Charisse being here? And Karen came through with that quick shade, talking about, well, Charisse deserves to be here. I mean, God knows you guys had her in every scene, so she might as well be here for the reunion. I said, girl. And Bravo, let this be Charisse's last appearance on Potomac. We do not need to see her anymore. Because all Charisse gave this season were those crunchy wigs and those Hanes t-shirts and those joggers. That was it. You're on national TV looking disheveled like you just ran errands or came from Soul Cycle.
You not fab like that to be doing all of that. Learn your place, earn your spot.
Like, girl, what's going on? We're not trying to see that for 16 weeks straight. I know I'm not. Now we see Andy pop his head in to Giselle and Robin's dressing room. He's asking them how they're feeling, if they're nervous. Giselle says, no, I'm feeling good. Then, of course, Andy wants to know, is Juan coming? And Robin says, no, he's working. And I said, now, Andy, you know I love you and all, but why would you ask a question that you already know the answer to? Honestly, I don't understand how Juan is able to slide for not showing up when the other husbands have to be there. The way I screamed when Andy came into Candiace's dressing room and she gave him her shirt that said, not today, Satan, not today, neck, not today, ankles, and Andy loved it. Now let's quickly discuss the looks. You guys already know, hands down, Wendy and Candiace ate and left no crumbs, understood the assignment, giving what the other girls were supposed to have gave, in the words of Rolling Ray. Honorable mentions. Robin, I thought that it was a better look than what I've seen in previous reunions. I thought that Mia's dress was okay. It wasn't bad. Giselle, her look gave church banquet. A lot of you guys had me screaming. You said that Giselle's look gave Elizabeth Taylor's White Diamonds perfume bottle, I was like, oh my gosh, it low-key did. Ashley's look, I didn't hate it. I feel like Ashley never gets it quite right. I thought it was interesting that she went for a bob because we know that Candiace's signature look at times is a bob. So I said, yeah, you want to be Candiace so bad, don't you? I didn't love Karen's dress, and I also didn't like her hair being up. I thought that her hair should have been down. I don't know, it didn't hit for me. Like, it wasn't a bad look, but it wasn't her best. Andy starts it off by asking Karen if she's about to be the Muhammad Ali of this reunion, and she's talking about, well, yeah, I think so. And I said, Karen, the streets are saying that you were really quiet this reunion and didn't have a whole lot to say. If anybody's about to be the people's champ of this reunion, it's going to be Wendy and Candiace. Then you have Andy asking Giselle about Jason from Winter House. They're dating now. Giselle says that he slid into her DMs. And I said, well, hopefully this relationship between you and Jason will carry into season 8. And Lord willing, with you dating and being out in these streets, maybe you won't be so inclined to try and destroy other people's unions. But I guess we'll see, right? When Andy said to Robin, you're a married woman now, how does it feel? And you had Karen over there yawning. Karen was like, girl, please.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
Like it did before.
Okay.
No, it feels good. I mean, we've been together forever, but there is just something a little bit more.
Andy, when you sat up there and said to Candiace, Candiace, can you tell me the way to get to Sesame Street? I said, no, he didn't. No, he didn't.
You know what? This is too much.
And Candiace did not miss a beat. She said, you need to ask Ashley that because she has the keys to get there. I said, y'all will learn to stop messing with Candiace. You guys are going to learn one day. Now, Andy, you and the people at production already know that these seating arrangements made no sense. For the simple fact that Giselle and Karen had the weakest storylines of the season, so them being in the first seat next to you is a joke. I thought it was so funny when you asked them how they felt about the seating arrangements. Candiace said, well, honestly, Andy, it was by your design. So now Andy says, well, while I have a say in the matter, it's not fully up to me. It's everybody in production who decides who's going to sit where. Then he says that it's really all about who's getting along with who. If people are fighting, he's not going to sit enemies on the same couch. Now, I said, Andy, if that's the case, then you guys failed because you have a bunch of enemies on the same couch. Giselle and Wendy, then you have Karen and Robin. That doesn't make sense to me. Now we get to the Ashley segment, and Ashley, I stand by what I said in the beginning of this recap, that you have to be one of the biggest dummies I have ever seen. So we learned that Ashley and the boys are in their new home, and that their new home is only 7 minutes away from the penthouse. So we also find out that Michael has a key to this new place. So they're all like, what? Even Andy was like, if I had a new house and my ex had a key to my new house, I'd be freaked out. And every time Ashley's being grilled on something, she always starts talking so fast, making excuses. So she's like, no, Michael has a key for the kids, and just in case something happens to our nanny, it's because of that. And then she adds that she has a key to his place too. Now, did anybody clock how dumb Ashley sounded when she said, but we have rules in place and Michael just can't pop up anytime he feels like it. He has to give me at least an hour's notice, especially if I have company over. And I was thinking, Ashley, this man paid for this home. His name is also on this home as well. So it is just as much his home as it is yours. So if you think for 1 minute that Michael's gonna really allow you to have full reign over that house, you're an idiot. The way he's about to use this house as a form of control and to manipulate you, I don't know why you feel like Michael's about to make this easy for you. He's not. There's no way in hell that I would be buying a home with my soon-to-be ex-husband. That is a recipe for disaster. And we also find out how petty Michael really is. because Ashley brought up an incident where it was a long weekend. She had Luke in the house. Michael was supposed to have the kids until Monday, and then all of a sudden he wants to drop the kids off on Sunday, so Luke had to leave. I said, girl, right there. Michael is showing you he's about to make your life hell, and he wants to make sure that you don't date. And again, Ashley, if you had any sense, you would move somewhere else. Somewhere that you can afford, where you don't need Michael's help, and a place where he doesn't have a key to. I thought it was really telling when Ashley said that she fell in love with Luke. She was getting all the affection, all the attention that she craved and wasn't getting when she was married to Michael. I said, oh, wow, isn't that funny? Because before, you were trying to act like, I love Michael, I'm attracted to him, that's my man. And now all of a sudden it's, yeah, I wasn't getting any of that at home. We know it. That's why you've been so miserable for all 7 seasons. And Andy was so shady. He said, and you were also getting young balls too. And if Michael's face looked like that, imagine what his balls look like. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to give you that mental picture so early in the day. And I loved how the shade continued, because Andy said, if I were Michael and I see you out with a young, handsome, sexy model, hockey player, I'd feel bad about myself. Like, I'd feel impotent. So Ashley says, well, I'm sure it is hard on him, but he's dating too. And I said, girl, he was dating other people when you guys were still married. He's been dating. That never stopped. You could tell that Robin took some delight questioning Ashley about the divorce. She was like, okay, so when is it? And I said, yeah, that was some payback, because Ashley used to be on Robin all the time about her and Juan. So I said, yeah, Robin felt vindicated questioning Ashley about her situation since she's been questioned for years. But I said, again, Robin, not too much, because you might be married now, but your situation is still a hot mess. Now here's where it gets really fun. We learned that Ashley can file for divorce in February, and then we learned that not only will Ashley not receive half of Michael's fortune, the prenup didn't work out in her favor whatsoever, and she can't even request alimony. Wendy had me yelling. She said, now Ashley, why would you sign something like that in the first place? And I said, Wendy, because the girl is dumb. That's why. Ashley, you have had so much to say for all these years about everybody on this cast. You should be embarrassed. There is no way on God's green earth that I would marry a man and sleep with a man who looks like Michael Darby, putting up with cheating, having to do all these threesomes, and I'm walking away penniless. That's not happening in this lifetime or the next.
No.
You're out here lying on Chris Bassett, talking about he wanted your friend and he was in your DMs. And the whole time, you should have been with a lawyer looking over your prenup to fight it and get something out the deal. Your mind is in the wrong place. Your Uncle Lump even told you, get yourself a lawyer immediately, because Michael is about to take you for a ride and you will not get anything out of this. I know Sheila has to be weeping because all those years in the tent were in vain. I know she's saying, my daughter has to be the world's biggest idiot. I put her up on game. I thought we found a big fish, and here she goes, fumbling the damn bag. Now I gotta go back in the tent yet again. A mess. And I'm also confused because if I remember correctly, in season 5, didn't you and Michael renegotiate the terms of your prenup? I remember that. It had been 5 years of marriage, and you said that you wanted some things to be tweaked, and he agreed because he had been caught cheating with that woman in the hotel. So obviously that was for the cameras then, and it never happened. Because how is a prenup so ironclad that you get nothing? When we all thought that you had changed everything and it had worked out in your favor. If you focus a little less on Candiace, you wouldn't be in this boat, because any smart person would have gotten the best lawyer to contest this stupid prenup in the first place. You fumbled your own bag, and now you're sitting here on this couch on national TV looking dumb, all because you didn't handle business. You want to lie on Candiace and Chris Bassett. In the words of Monique, when you do clownery, the clown comes back to bite. So Andy reads a viewer question, and the viewer says, Ashley, just admit that you're not divorcing over threesomes. You're divorcing because the prenup is up, the babies are out, and it's time to secure the bag. So Ashley's upset and she says, no, that's not it at all. I really do want monogamy. I want my kids to see monogamy as well. One thing that I've always heard growing up was how you start is how you finish. If you started out the relationship with threesomes, you are a fool to think that it's going to stop and your man is going to want monogamy all of a sudden because he said I do and there's a marriage license. People don't change just because they went to the altar. You thought that you could change him, and that's where you went wrong. And I'm willing to bet that you always wanted monogamy, but you said, you know what? Let me put that on pause for right now to try to get this money. And I know it must hurt that you did all this stuff for a man who was not going to change, but you knew that. And then come to find out there's no money in the pot for you. So because they're talking about open marriages and Ashley wanting monogamy now, Andy turns his attention to Mia. He wants her opinion. Now, one thing about it, while I don't like Mia, I will give her props when it comes to her sexuality and her discussing her marriage to Gordon. She's very honest and open about it. And she doesn't make any excuses about it. She's not ashamed about it. It is what it is. You either like it or you don't. But she lets it be known that things aren't as wild and crazy because they have kids now. But she says, look, how I got my husband is how I'm going to have to keep my husband. And I can't promise him one thing and then switch up because that's not fair to him. And again, Mia knew what she was getting into. And she knows that how you start is how you finish. Ashley didn't get that memo. Ashley thought that she was going to pull a fast one. And Michael said, no, dear. Either you're going to get with it or I'm going to be out with a new woman who's down for what I'm down for. The way the viewer questions were getting Ashley together, I said, thank you, Jesus. Won't he do it? I was here for all of the shade. When Andy read that cue card that said, Ashley, a few years ago, you were telling Candiace that she was the least accomplished in this group. Now she's out here flourishing with a singing and acting career while you can't even pay for a home without Michael's help. Do you still stand by what you said years ago? And Ashley's response was so weak. She said, well, I do want to say I'm sorry, Candiace, for saying that, but nobody's going to make me feel less than. And I said, but girl, the truth is the truth. You aren't accomplished. Candiace is out here flourishing and thriving. She has been on several Netflix shows. She has that new show on BET+. She's been in a few movies. She got her MBA from Howard. Like, mama is really out here doing the damn thing. And what is Ashley doing? TikTok dances? Trying to go viral? Is that bringing in any money? We've yet to see her with any endorsements, no merchandise. It seems like Ashley's only source of income is the show. But yet you want to call Candiace the least accomplished. I was so happy when Candiace called you out and she said, may I just say something? When I first joined this group, a lot of you guys had a lot to say about my family taking care of me. So now Ashley jumps in talking about, yeah, I stand by that because at some point you need to be responsible for yourself. Now I said, Ashley, here's where I'm about to break it down and read you for filth. Because one, the jealousy continues to jump out. Baby, it is a flex to have a family that can still take care of you at your big age, okay? And I have a real soft spot for Candiace because I grew up very similar to Candiace, all right? And that's not even me trying to brag, okay? But I'm just being real. So I'm always confused when I see the hate that Black people get for growing up well. The same way we see people of other races who are wealthy still taking care of their children, and nobody has anything to say about that. But when it's a black person, especially a dark-skinned black woman, now it's a problem? I'm confused. Do we want to see black generational wealth, or do we not want to see it? Like, let's pick a side, because I just don't understand the hate that Candiace gets because she comes from a family of means. Isn't that the goal? Again, help me understand, because I will never understand trying to bash somebody for having a family who is able to provide. That is a blessing, and it is a flex. And nobody could ever make me feel bad about that at all. Absolutely not. And Ashley, for you to say at some point you need to be responsible for yourself, well then let's talk about your mom. Because your mom is what, in her 50s and 60s? And her daughter is soon to be ex-husband were taking care of her at one point, because I remember that was what, season 3, season 4, when Sheila was getting a $4,500 allowance every month. Remember that? Well, she had that no good, broke man laying in her bed each night. So let's not, sis. If you really want to go there, let's go there. Because if Candiace in her 30s needs to be responsible for herself, then the same could be said about your mom at her big age, right? If we're being fair. And Ashley, the real gag is, how can you say, well, at some point you need to stand on your own 2 feet when you can't even stand on your own 2 feet and buying a home for you and your boys? You need Michael's help. Getting a home that's $13,000 a month, and you know good and damn well you can't afford that. And I loved how Candiace said, but girl, you can't even buy your home on your own. So what are you saying? And Candiace cleared you so bad, all you could say was, well, I see that it's still a really touchy topic for you. I said, girl, shut up. Just come on out and admit that you are green with envy at the fact that this beautiful, dark-skinned black woman grew up with a silver spoon in her mouth, and you, on the other hand, grew up completely different, and you feel a type of way about it. But that was the end of Ashley's segment, and now we jump to Mia. Of course, Mia's first storyline this season was discussing her health scare. Andy says that he's happy that she's cancer-free and healthy, and then he wants to know, well, what exactly do they think was wrong with her? So Mia says that she had a large lymph node, and there was a lump on her rear. Candiace jumps in and wants to know, what were they checking for in that last scene in the finale episode? And she says that they were checking to see if she had sarcoidosis. Did I say that right? If I didn't, let me know. But I think that's what it was. Again, let me know if I messed the name up. But Mia goes on to say that she doesn't have that, but she's still under doctor's care and she's on medication. Now, I'm not going to hold you guys. I was rolling my eyes during this whole segment. You guys know how I feel about Mia. So I really had no interest hearing about this fake storyline about her health. So now Andy reads a viewer question addressing Wendy being a hypocrite. Because remember what happened at the dance studio? We heard Wendy on the hot mic saying that Mia was a liar. So Andy says, Wendy, you have to own it. So Wendy says, Andy, I did own it. I made a joke about it on Twitter of how I was caught on the hot mic. But let's be clear. All I was trying to point out was the way Robin and Giselle came at Mia was bad, and while I have my doubts too, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. So of course Mia jumps in and she's like, but Wendy, why couldn't you just tell me to my face if you thought I was lying? And I said, Mia, girl, you threw a drink in this woman's face. So I don't care what Wendy said about you behind your back. All right, like, you have no room to talk about anything. And the gall and the sheer audacity for you to call Wendy a snake, I said, now, girl, you want to sit up here and call Wendy a snake? Like, what world are you living in? When we got to the part about Mia's business and how was it taken away if she's the CEO, and Mia was trying to explain herself, I was confused. Now, mind you, I watched this first part twice to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And both times, I was unable to understand Mia's explanation about what happened. So according to Mia, one of Gordon's brothers is a part owner of the company, and his name is also on the bank account. And because of that, any one of them is able to take each other off the bank account at any time. I loved how everybody was confused about that. Giselle was like, I didn't know you could do that. Even Andy was confused, like, I never heard that. And I said, of course, because Mia's lying. I've never heard that either. Wouldn't you need a whole bunch of approval to just take somebody off of the bank account? So Mia says that they had a board meeting, and in the board meeting, the two managing partners voted Gordon out. So it was 2 against 1. So now Andy wants to know, well, why did they push Gordon out? So Mia says they were afraid of us pushing them out, so that's why they got rid of us. So now Karen says, hold on, girl, I'm confused. Don't you and Gordon own 40% of the company? So now Mia says that it's not about percentages, it's about the votes. Then Mia says that the managing members control the whole group. Andy's like, so hold on. There are 3 people on the board, and now Mia says, no, there are 8 people on the board. So now they're like, child, where did 8 people come from? You just said 2, then you said 3, now it's 8. Wendy had me screaming. She said, when it comes to this kind of math, you gotta carry the 1. Mia getting upset, talking about, I'm not going to have this conversation if they're going to laugh in my face like that. Like, Andy, next question. I said, girl, let's not. You get no sympathy from me, sis, because the way you embarrassed Wendy on national TV by throwing a drink in her face, nobody checked on Wendy to see if she was okay when that happened to her. So I could give a damn about how you feel about them all laughing in your face. You deserve it. The math ain't mathin', and the explanation makes no sense. You're lying. I don't believe a word of this about the managing partners control this, and I don't believe it. I don't believe that you and Gordon had that much stake in this business in the first place. And Mia, you really played yourself because you were up Giselle and Robin's asses all season long for Giselle to turn on you the way she did. When Giselle said, I mean, it sounds like embezzlement to me. And I said, you see that? You really thought that Giselle and Robin actually liked you? Giselle sitting up there couldn't wait to clown you. And then you said, no, well, obviously I wouldn't be on national TV if I were lying or stealing. And I said, now, girl, we've seen many housewives get on here and pretend. Look at Jen Shah, who's currently doing a 6.5-year bid because she was out here scamming. Andy brings up why they're out of the rental in Potomac. Mia says, well, because we have to. There's no money coming in.
Ladies, may we get a word?
Hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around. With your broke ass.
And we're living off of our savings. And I just said, that is so sad. This woman got on here talking about how she's a big boss, CEO. I make all this money. That's low budget. I'm that girl, I'm this, I'm that. We just have so much money. And from one season to the next, you guys are now broke with nothing to show for it. I just think it is so hilarious how these girls have tried to come for Candiace and Wendy. And not only have they failed miserably, but several of these women happen to have very little money. You have Ashley, who's been a complete nightmare to Candiace since day one. She's left penniless from this divorce. And here goes Mia, who tried Candiace and Wendy. And she's out that rental and living off of the last few dollars in their account. Did y'all hear how dumb Mia sounded when Andy brought up the fact that she and Gordon had rental properties in Charlotte? And she said, yeah, because of our businesses, we were bi-coastal. And I said, do you know what bi-coastal means, sis? Are you okay? To say Mia isn't that bright is an understatement. And Mia just can't help herself. When she brought up the fact that she used to make $40,000 a month, I just said, girl, you're not making that anymore. Like, give it a rest. Aren't you tired? But we do learn that they're now in a penthouse in North Bethesda, and hopefully they can stay there. I still want to understand the logic behind Mia investing $65,000 into a rental home that she had to end up leaving due to a lack of funds to stay there. Was that smart, Mia? You did all that for what? You and your family are out, and now the owner has all those upgrades for free. Now that short little break that we saw when Giselle was FaceTiming Grace and she was driving And then Andy was like, it's Daddy Andy, keep your eyes on the road, like get off of the phone. And then when he said, oh, I'm your dad, by the way, I thought it would be the perfect time to tell you. And then when Giselle was laughing and she said, Andy, I don't know if it's inappropriate to ask you this, but have you ever been with a woman? And he was like, no, I haven't, but I want to. So Giselle's like, wait, how old are you again? He says, I'm 54. And then Giselle says, well, if it doesn't happen by 60, then I'll be the one. And I said, girl, you are kissing up to this man something bad, aren't you? You are trying to keep your job by any means. And even Andy was like, well, that would be an HR issue. So we get to the last segment of the night, and it's the Candiace portion of the reunion. So we see some unseen footage with Giselle saying that she hasn't heard from Chris all season long, but now since the whole season has wrapped, now she gets a message from him talking about he's sorry. So Andy points out that Chris did not give her an apology. All he said was, if I made you feel uncomfortable, then I'm sorry. So of course, here goes Giselle talking about, no, Andy, he did apologize to me. He acknowledged that if I felt uncomfortable, then he's sorry. So now Candiace interjects and she says, it's important for us to note that Chris sent that message before we both saw the disgusting things that she was saying about him and the 15 other stories that she told other people. I said, come through, Candiace, let her know that Chris did nothing wrong and that that was not an apology or any sort of admission of guilt. So here goes Giselle denying it. She's like, what are you talking about? I didn't give any 15 versions of the same story. I said the same thing to everybody. So Candiace clears her again and says, that's not true, Giselle. You called him a sneaky link, and then you went on to say how so many men want you, and you felt like Chris was trying to see if you were with it. And Giselle knew that she was caught because she said, well, I apologize for that. I shouldn't have said that. So Candiace says, well, who are you apologizing to? Me or Chris? And I said, if Ashley does not shut the entire hell up, do you see how they are so quick to defend each other? Here goes Ashley trying to stick up for Giselle, talking about, well, you know how Giselle is. She puts extra sauce on a story. I was like, girl, can you stop? There's a difference between exaggerating a few details of some gossip versus completely lying on somebody's husband's reputation. That's not putting extra sauce on a story, you idiot. I was just so aggravated. Like, you are just so far up Giselle's ass, it's sick. And Robin trying to cover for her friend, I said, can y'all let Giselle stand on her own 2 feet, please? You guys all know that your friend is lying. Robin talking about, well, I have to say that when this first happened, Giselle told me that Chris had her in the dressing room alone and she felt uncomfortable. And Candiace said, that's not the issue. My whole thing is that Giselle waited until we were on camera to bring this up. And Candiace was absolutely correct when she said that she waited to earn her check. And I said, we all know how Giselle operates. No storyline. So what does she do? She's trying to cause chaos and ruin other people's happy marriages, all to get a check. I was happy that Candiace did not accept Giselle's apology. She said, take that apology and shove it up your ass. And one thing I can't stand, every single time Candiace is about to make a valid point, the Green-Eyed Bandits or Ashley always interrupt her because Candiace was about to really clear Giselle when she said, Giselle, let's play a little game right now. Let's just say that Chris did ask you to go back to the dressing room by yourself, right? When you guys got there and you saw that nobody was there, and before she could get the sentence out, Giselle interrupted. I was so aggravated that Andy did not say, Giselle, be quiet, let her finish what she was saying. Because I already knew what Candiace was about to say. Because I have asked that question several times in previous recaps. When Giselle and Chris got to that dressing room and Giselle flipped on the lights and saw that nobody else was in there, all Giselle had to say was, Chris, let's just talk right outside. And that would have been that. The fact that Giselle went into the dressing room, they talked for what, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden she feels so uncomfortable. If you know what your boundaries are as a grown woman, then the minute that you guys got up to the dressing room, you would not have gone in there with him, right? This whole entire story is bogus and Giselle knows it. She did this to make Chris and Candiace look bad, and she did this for a storyline. Giselle trying to call Chris a liar, saying that she wasn't the one who asked him to go to the room, that he was the one who asked. And Candiace said, well, he's not lying. That's just not his recollection of events. Now, if I'm being honest, I believe that Giselle asked Chris to talk privately. In my personal opinion, I'm annoyed that we don't have footage of who asked who, but I wouldn't be surprised if Giselle was the one who initiated the conversation. Now, the conversation does change gears briefly. Andy wants to know about Candiace's journey to having children, and we learned that the IVF process this time around is going well. They had a successful egg retrieval, and they have 6 embryos. So Candiace is emotional, they all congratulate her, and she's excited. And Candiace, please teach a class on how to fold a piece of tissue into the perfect triangle. Mark my words, Candiace is going to cry herself into a Kleenex commercial. Like, she's about to get a Kleenex endorsement. So now we're back to the whole Chris Bassett versus Giselle and Ashley. So now Andy reads a viewer question directed to Candiace, and it's regarding Candiace being upset at Giselle for low-key accusing Chris of assault. So now Candiace says, well, I said that because you've got Giselle going around saying that my man squeezed Ashley's girlfriend's ass, and that's a lie. So now Giselle says, well, actually, Candiace, we all thought that that's what Ashley said. Now I said, Giselle, all you do is lie. When they played the tapes back, Ashley did not mention anything about Chris touching her friend's butt. That was you. You guys were at the vineyard and you couldn't wait to run your behind back on the bus and lie to Robin. Talking about, oh yeah, he squeezed Ashley's friend's butt. Yeah, there's a lot of grabbing going on. Ashley even said, girl, I never said that. That was Giselle just out and out lying for no reason. Nobody else heard that. So now Giselle says, well, all I said was that he made me feel uncomfortable. So you have Robin jumping in yet again, and she says, can we all agree that no married man should be in another room with a single woman? And Robin, I'm so confused because I want to know what changed. Earlier on in this season, you were on Chris and Candiace's side. You said it yourself that you thought that your friend was reaching. And if you feel so strongly about, well, married men shouldn't be in the same room alone with a single woman has no business making jokes about her friend's husband's brown penis every single time. So if we want to be all technical, then let's really talk about it. Because Candiace has been a very good sport regarding Giselle making jokes about Chris and the brown penis. I am so over Giselle, Robin, and Ashley, it's not even funny. I am just so sick of them. They are always moving the goalpost every single time. And Candiace, I hope you see that Robin was never your friend. So I hope that you get that out of your head about she's a big sister to me and I just love her so much. Girl, that's over with. Robin's loyalty is to Giselle and Giselle only. I loved how Andy was not here for the BS. He was like, I'm just so confused because in my world, I feel like it's a bit crazy to hear that a man and a woman can't have a conversation together in a room. And then he went on to say that as a viewer, it always seemed like you and Chris had a nice relationship. So to see you talk about, well, he made me feel uncomfortable, I'm like, well, where did things go wrong? I think that Giselle did this on purpose for a storyline and because she is envious of what Chris and Candiace have. And Robin, you're lucky that this reunion was filmed prior to the news breaking out about Juan and the side chick, because I would have gotten you together and said, oh, and what message does it send for your husband to be out here DMing women and paying for their hotel rooms and flying them out? Since you want to get all technical about, well, married men and single women shouldn't be alone together and all that stuff, well, let's talk about your husband and what he's doing. I was just so aggravated. Giselle, Robin, and Ashley are 3 hateful individuals. They really are. And when Giselle tried to check Candiace and she said, yeah, I hear the comments about how I always come for people's families, but it's so funny to me, Candiace, because you had a lot to say about Juan and a lot to say about Michael Darby. And I said, hold on, let's not do that, because to bring up Michael Darby like he's a stand-up man is a joke. First of all, if I remember correctly, in season 1, Giselle called Michael Darby Crocodile Dundee. She was talking about him all the time. I had no idea that you were Michael Darby's biggest fan. It's weird. You are aware that the whole world was dragging Michael Darby. Everybody, for the most part, in the Bravo community was never here for Michael. And I really wish that Candiace would have said that. And I also wish that Candiace would have said, okay, but let's go down the list. You had a lot to say about Monique's husband, Chris Samuels, calling him big boy every chance. You talked about Michael as well. You talked about Ray, calling him Uncle Ben, talking about, pay your taxes. You talked about Eddie. So I don't want to hear it. I was so happy when Candiace said, girl, this is not an All Lives Matter event, okay? Like, we're not going to do this, so please stop. So now Andy cuts in and says, Giselle, the critiques from the fans are, you waited until the cameras were on to bring this up. So now Giselle's talking about, well, I liked Candiace at the time. The only reason why I said something was when Ashley told me that he was DMing her. I said, again, Chris did not DM Ashley. All he did was respond to her story, and he said, come to the W, I work there, I can hook you guys up with a section. That's it, that's all. Y'all want to make this man out to be this serial cheater and this deviant so bad, and it's disgusting. Giselle, the man that you were married to for 11 years, you can never talk to me or try to read me about anything. Ashley, you were also married to a degenerate and a serial cheater. Robin, enough said. I don't understand why y'all have such an issue with Candiace and Chris all of a sudden. It's sick. And let me just say this. If Chris were going to cheat on Candiace with one of her castmates, I don't think for 1 minute that it would be with Ashley or Giselle. So y'all can stop that lie about him trying to be a sneaky link and he was in Ashley's DMs. He doesn't want either one of y'all. So now Wendy interjects and says that we would all like to give Giselle the benefit of the doubt, but the problem is that Giselle pulls this mess when the cameras start rolling. Baby, Candiace took me out when she said, my God. So now Candiace says, from last year's reunion to my album release party, I had seen Giselle a few times in between. And the fact that she could have told me this anytime between then, but chose to wait until the cameras turned on, that's an issue. So you have Giselle trying to deflect, talking about, so you wanted me to tell you this news at your album release party, really? And Candiace said, yeah, I would have preferred that actually. Instead, you wait until we're on national TV to do this. Then she says, Giselle, you're just not smart. So Candiace says, you could have brought us your storyline about your health and your uterus, but instead you choose to malign people's marriages. Then she says, you use this platform to lie on people, and I agree 110%. All Giselle has done on this show, lie, try to set people up, run them off the show, ice people out. That has been her MO from the beginning. The only person who ever successfully checked her was Katie Ross in season 1. She cleared Giselle and Robin. And shout out to Katie for getting sober and getting her life in order. And I really do hope that she does come back. I don't see it happening. But I will say that Katie Ross will go on record for having Giselle and Robin speechless. And now here's where some viewers were upset with Candiace because she closed out this first part by saying, your dwindling uterus was waiting for you to discuss it on national TV. So let me just say this. On the Housewives, we have heard a lot of women go below the belt in an argument. I feel like a lot of viewers like to pick and choose who gets to hit below the belt and who can't. We have seen Ashley hit below the belt and go into the gutter for years. In season 3, when Ashley insinuated that Monique was an alcoholic and that the reason why Monique had a miscarriage was due to her drinking, I thought that that was disgusting. And I don't remember seeing or hearing a whole lot of backlash when Ashley did that. Did I take offense to Candiace saying that to Giselle? I did not. I'm being honest. You are accusing someone's husband of acting in an inappropriate manner, and you have spread this around on national TV. This man is no longer working at his job, and a big part of me thinks that it's because of these rumors. So in my mind, I feel like Candiace has carte blanche to say whatever she wants. And in all seriousness, Candiace told no lies, in my opinion, because Giselle and her health scare should have been her storyline. Now, if you took offense to what Candiace said, listen, I understand. We all feel differently about things. But me personally, I did not take offense to what Candiace said. And I'm being honest. I can't lie to you guys. I'm not going to change my opinion just because I'm afraid of making you upset. And if we want to hold Candiace to this standard, then we have to be fair about what Phaedra said to Kenya. Remember that iconic read that everybody quoted for days on end? That was really below the belt because Phaedra knew that Kenya wanted to have a child. So if we're going to play this game about what's acceptable in an argument, then we have to be fair across the board. It can't be that Candiace is held to this standard and everybody else gets to slide by. That's not fair. But guys, that was the first part. We have 2 more parts to go. I already know that Giselle, Ashley, Mia, and Robin are going to wear me out. I already know it, and I'm